Welcome to Attic Raiders Retro Reviews, where today we're looking to the Far East to a game that potentially towers above its competitors. Join us as we take a look at Pagoda. Pagoda was released in 1996 by Peter Pan Games and is a 2 to 4 player game for ages 6 and up. The name Pagoda comes from the style of tiered tower with multiple eaves which originated in Asia and normally had a religious function. Pagoda claims to be the classic Chinese game of tower building, and for it to be a classic game then presumably it's based on a much older one. But the only thing that I can think of is the Tower of Hanoi, which is a single player puzzle where you have to move stacked discs to build a tower. Except that's got completely different rules and win conditions from this. Also, it's not Chinese. Tower of Hanoi was invented in 1883 by a French mathematician who released it with a rulebook claiming that it originated in Vietnam and was based on a legend which came from India, none of which are in China. So this claim is rather dubious. There's not very much in the way of box art here apart from this faux Oriental text, and it is very colourful, but it just kind of looks cluttered and a bit cheap. On the back we've got the rules, and this is it. There's no rules inside this box, it's just what's printed here. So as you can see, there's not much to this. It is a very short game, and it does say that it has a runtime of only about 15 minutes. But as a game, how does it stack up? Well, let's take a closer look and find out. The game comes with this baseboard, which is made from quite thick, sturdy cardboard, but unfortunately on my copy somebody has folded it at 90 degrees in order to get this back into the box, which of course you don't actually need to do. So I've got this big crease that I can't really do much about, but thankfully you don't really actually need to use this to play the game. We've got a custom made 6-sided plastic die with 2 number 1s on it, 2 faces with a 2 on it, and 2 faces with a 3 on it. We've got a purple base plate for our pagoda, and we've got the purple plastic roof for it. These are all quite nice, really thick plastic pieces. This is good quality moulding. We've got 12 pagoda pieces, 3 in blue, red, yellow and green. And these are also really nice, thick plastic pieces, really well built and sturdy. They've got some nice moulded details into them, though which wasn't really necessary for gameplay. But once you build the pagoda, it really looks quite cool. And you can see that they've got this stepped bit here on the inside, so that when they are put together, they fit really nicely, one on top of the other, and they're not going to separate or come apart easily unless you want them to. The object of the game then is to be the first one to complete the pagoda on its base with your 3 coloured pieces stacked one on top of the other. To set up the game, the cardboard base is placed onto the table in reach of all players, and the purple pagoda base is placed onto the central circle. Each player then chooses a colour and takes the 3 pagoda pieces in that colour, but if you're playing a 2-player game rather than 4, then you're going to have to take 2 stacks of coloured pieces. Players then take it in turns setting up the board by placing one piece somewhere on the board in turn, either on top of the tower that's being built or onto one of the other circles. And that's just going to continue until every one of the pieces is down on the table. But of course you're going to want to make sure that you don't allow any of your opponents to build up 3 of their coloured pieces, one on top of the other, while this bit is going on, because that will make the later game much easier. Once everybody's pieces of pagoda are put down on the board, then the roof section can be put in place to finish things off. Now, while this bit is set up rather than actual gameplay, it is tactical at this point, so do think about where you're placing your pieces. To play the game then, each person is going to take the die in turn and roll it to find out how many actions they're going to get. 3 actions. So with 3 actions I can do 3 moves, and I want to try and get my coloured pieces together. To move, you can either lift up an entire stack and place it down on top of another stack, or you can break a stack anywhere at any point and place it down on top of another stack. So with 3 moves as a yellow player, I might go 1 move in order to have these 2 together, 2 moves, 3 moves. And now I've got my 3 colours together, but I still have to get the rest of this stack built up so that the tower is complete. But of course my opponents are going to be trying to stop me from doing that. Now when you're moving, you cannot place anything on top of the roof section, and you're not allowed to move anything off the board while you move something else on top in order to put something on top of that. You must only do 1 move at a time, and that move must be completed before you go on to your next move. And the roof piece is just treated like any other tower piece. You can either move it in a stack like this, or you can move it completely by itself. Eventually somebody's going to manage to complete the tower on their go with their 3 colours, one on top of the other. And when they do that, and they've built the whole tower right to the top, then they win the game. The rules for Pagoda are super simple, so you're going to be able to teach this and play it really easily without having to remember lots of different things. The components are also a really nice quality. These are nice, thick plastic pieces made by Bluebird Toys, who also made the Polly Pocket and Mighty Max toys, so this is good quality moulding. And they've been well engineered so that the tower pieces stack together and they're not going to fall apart or topple and spread all over your table when you're lifting up tower pieces and shifting them around. This is a strategic game, so you are going to have to use some brain power on here. However, the use of the die really does add in a lot of randomness, which just kind of takes too much away from this game. If you roll a 3 in this, then you are way more likely to be able to win this game than anybody rolling a 1 or a 2. So much so that if you're an adult, then you pretty much know exactly how you're going to move the tower in order to win. So the only thing stopping you from winning is the higher die rolls, which means that this game comes down to basically random luck, unless you start making some very silly mistakes, but that is quite unlikely. I found that eliminating the die altogether and just giving every player 2 moves definitely makes it a lot harder and more challenging for adults, and it completely eliminates that element of luck, which takes away from the strategy needed. The rules, as I said, are very short, so there is some areas where a little bit of extra clarity is needed. For example, it says that you have to be, to win, the person who completes the tower with your 3 pieces next to each other. Now, does that mean that if you complete the tower with your opponent's 3 pieces next to each other, that you still can win if your pieces are next to each other? Or does it mean that your opponent's pieces mean that they win as well? My reading of it is that you have to be the person to complete the tower, so you would win. But then that also opens up the possibility that can you deliberately complete the tower with your opponent's 3 pieces in place in order to stop them from winning on their turn, because you're the one who's completed the tower with the 3 pieces in place, not them. I don't suppose it would stop your opponent for very long. They'd only need to get a 2 or higher on the die in order to split the tower and put it back together in order to win, but it would hold them up a bit, especially if they only roll a 1, and that might just give you the chance that you need in order to complete the tower yourself and win the game. It's a short game, it's not going to take very long. Round about 10 minutes is about the proper length that this is actually going to take you. So this is definitely much more of a filler if you're going to play it. It's an okay game. The novelty is quite good. I haven't seen many other games that have this kind of style of gameplay, but it's not the best game in the world. Having said that, the tower has got some nice moulding on it, so with a bit of a complete repaint, it could be quite good for using in miniature wargaming. Well, I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen here today. If you have, please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you next time with more vintage board games on Attic Raiders Retro Reviews.